All right, on to the new one, The Surfer from 2025. A man returns to the idyllic beach of his childhood to surf with his son. When he's humiliated by a group of locals, the man is drawn into a conflict that keeps rising and pushes him to his breaking point.
Was he
Director,
humiliated?
yeah, kind of in front of his kid.
I mean,
Director is Lorcan Finnegan, also known for Vivarium. That was a good one.
It's a good one. Yeah.
Writer is Thomas Martin, also known for Ripper Street. Haven't seen that.
Okay.
At a screening at Glasgow Film Festival 25, director Lorcan Finnegan said that the snake featured in the film bit Nicolas Cage on the hand for real. There's
The
your
ultimate method actor.
there's your little bit of trivia for the day. And then
Interesting.
the
Okay.
snake was poisoned by Nicolas Cage.
Right. And died 2 hours later.
Yeah. He's like Chuck Norris, but like without fighting.
Right.
Exactly.
Bede, what'd you think about this one?
Guys, I'm not gonna lie, I kind of loved this movie.
Yeah.
I figured this was right up your alley. As soon as I was watching,
I
I was
mean,
like, this is
I
a
had a
Bede
feeling.
movie.
Yeah, I had a feeling.
Well, I think the reason why I loved it so much, I mean, it is set in Australia. Although my only disappointment with the movie is Nicolas Cage is meant to be an Australian character, but he doesn't have an Australian accent in it
At
at
all.
all, which upsets
Well,
me. But to be fair,
he got Americanized. Come
I
on.
wish
I
he
was
did
gonna
try
say, yeah, I wish he kind of tried it too, because he could have gone around and says like,
Yeah.
"G'day, mate. Where's me, Nicolas Cage? I'm gonna put the shrimp on the Barbie. Where's a kangaroo so I can ride it?" Anyways, but the movie does say that he has lived in America most of his life. But what I really, and so he has
Sure.
the American accent. But what I really liked about this movie, it kind of goes into a lot of toxic masculinity as well,
Sure.
which is something that see like a common theme that pops up in Cage's work every now and again, because we even talked about this in Vampire's Kiss as well. But I think what's interesting about this one, now I don't know if you guys have seen this movie, but watching this movie, it reminded me of a pretty fantastic Australian film from the 70s called Wake in Fright, which is basically like this outsider who goes to a small country town in Australia and he gets caught up with the locals and he kind of descends into madness. So I would be surprised if Lorcan Finnegan and the writer just took a lot of inspiration from that movie, because that film also has a lot of psychological elements as well.
Sounds like
And
it.
Okay.
and kind of and I liked how this film kind of really kind of escalates with this story, because obviously Cage is there with his son. He wants to show like the place he grew up in. And then once he goes down to the beach and has to run in with the surfers. And in Australia, like we do, there have been cases where a lot of surfer groups are very territorial of
That's
beaches
a
where they won't.
that's a surfer
Interesting.
thing
Okay.
everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, and I mean, we even see it in like Point Break as well.
Yeah.
So, and even though like he's like, oh, well, I used to live here. I was an Australian. He was like, and they're like, no, get the fuck away from here, man. And so he feels humiliated, and his son feels humiliated. So in a way, it's kind of like him.
You take your son and your tiny packer and you go back up to the hill.
That's actually a pretty good Aussie accent.
I know, that wasn't bad. I hit it.
That wasn't bad at all. Yeah.
And the interesting thing is too, like he's like dead set on staying in this on this beach to kind of go up against this surfer group, and then it kind of escalates from there when they steal his surfboard, and then he calls the police, and then he realizes the police or at least the cop that he deals with is maybe involved with this gang.
A
So they basically
dickhead.
a complete dickhead. And it kind of escalates from there, and is like how this surfer gang is kind of tormenting him, and how, in a way, he's like so dead set in his ways of wanting to kind of pay back against this gang that it kind of sets him on a path of self-destruction and madness. And seeing Nicolas Cage like going around dealing with this, like, the Australian landscape was pretty interesting. I mean, we do see him with a snake, and from what I remember, I don't think that snake in Australia is a poisonous one, so thank goodness it wasn't poisonous. But, you know, he has to deal with, yes, exactly. And not only does he have to deal with, like, snakes, he also has to deal with shit on a drinking fountain. He has to deal with a coffee vendor just being an absolute dick to him, but again, it's kind of an interesting thing, like, but then again, it kind of goes into, it's like, is all of this in his head, or is there something else going on? So that's what I really liked about the film a lot, because it does play with that. Obviously, we do get a proper resolution to what is going on in the third act, but I think it's actually a pretty well done, very Australian feeling, even though it's made by Irish filmmakers, like psychological thriller. And also Julia McMahon, Doctor Doom, the original Doctor Doom.
I did not
Dr.
recognize
Doom
him at all.
and the Nip Tuck.
Yeah, he was really good.
He was in Nip Tuck, if you guys ever saw that.
Yeah, I didn't even click. I knew I'd seen him somewhere.
I thought he was really good as like the leader of this surfer gang. And again, with his character, there's a lot of interesting things that feel almost like they put a little bit of an Andrew Tate or Jordan Peterson kind of elements in this character, where he's like saying like, oh, men today have to be surfers, have to be tough, and I was like, oh, we're gonna be men.
Sure. the
like
manosphere.
Exactly. But I think it's actually a pretty interesting film. And of course, Cage even has the occasional Cage Rage moment where even at one point he grabs a rat and it's like, eat the rat. But yeah, I really like this movie a lot.
All right, Lance?
I may be the dissenting voice tonight on this one. I did not like this at all. I thought this was all over the place. I thought it was incredibly confusing. And I know that was the point. And I get everything you're talking about, Bede. I think there could have been a better way to show the toxic masculinity and the way that someone emerges as the alpha and that kind of thing, and what that can all lead to and whatnot. But to me, it was just a bit of a mess. I mean, it was completely all over the place. It had me thinking halfway through the movie, is he actually that homeless guy? And is he like, is this all going on in his mind? Is this like a American Psycho type thing where you don't know what's really happening and what's not? But at the end, like Bede said, they did kind of wrap it up a little bit in a bit of a neat bow. So you kind of know most of it was going on. Obviously, when he thought every single person was staring right at him and laughing in that one scene, I'm sure that was in his head. But yeah, I don't know, man. Number one, why would this guy be a big of an imbecile to just fucking stay there and slowly lose everything? And how is it that everybody was so much in on it that even that coffee shop guy did what he did? I'm trying to dance around spoilers because there is some weird
Dr. Doom's the guru.
Well,
yeah, I know, but
if you're
like
going to dig into why everybody's doing something, the movie's going to fall apart.
Well, I think also too it does establish like he's not only is he the leader of this gang, he's also like a well-known influential figure in the community. Like he also is like because they kind of established all these surfer guys all come from pretty well-known backgrounds. They're ambulance drivers, they're cops, they're businessmen, or they work for real estate companies. And Julia McMahon's character is like a well-known kind of figure. So it's almost like
Nic Cage's character even knew who he was.
Yeah, and so it's essentially like uses his money and influence to kind of control these people into almost like this cult-like status. And maybe there's a little bit of Trumpism there too, as well. So it's kind of an interesting thing that the movie...
That's a stretch, maybe.
Okay,
but
maybe not full-blown, yeah.
Well, okay.
Yeah.
I don't know. And to me, there were like a lot of really herky-jerky things. Like, for example, in the early part of the movie, he's like with his son. And I don't know. I thought maybe something was going to come of that didn't. And then the son disappears for the longest time. And
like,
then, I know you got weird flashbacks. And then, what's that, Brian?
He dropped him off at home.
Yeah, I know.
In the parking lot to take a call for some reason.
Yeah, why would he just keep staying there? And then he waits. I don't want to get too far into how far it goes, but like waits for a certain person overnight, and it's like see, I started thinking the more he started looking the way he was, that's why I thought maybe he was the homeless guy the whole time, and it was just like in his mind or whatever. But I don't know, man. Would anybody really be this fucking stupid to just sit out there and go through all this fucking shit and not leave? Not just fucking simply leave. I mean, I get it. It's obsession, as you were saying.
Yeah.
Bede, but you know, I'm not. I mean, I have a slightly different score than you, I think, when we go round robin. That's all I'll say.
Well, I think also too, sort of thinking about it now is, again, kind of going into that sort of toxic masculinity, not just with the surfers being like this.
But it wasn't even really toxic masculinity. It was just guys being assholes.
Yeah, exactly. But also at the same time, you got Cage wanting to, because I would imagine Cage like thinks like, since he hasn't lived in this town for quite a long time, he just reckons he's part of the locals. And he
should have said that from the get-go.
He did.
The minute the first guy walked up to him, he should have said, I am a local. My house is right up there. You know, exaggerated a little. Like he already had the house.
Look, I'm buying it.
Isn't that what they tell you?
I belong here, He would have said he's a local and lied about his house over there, they would have probably went down a lot harder on him for lying, because I'm sure the locals know who lives there.
Exactly. And let's
and
also too, and also too,
his board and destroying his car.
And also too, with I could imagine like there's already a hint of craziness with Cage, like even before he's just like, because I can also see like this is an obsession. He wants to move back to this town to the point where it literally becomes it becomes his obsession to do it, and he just wants to, you know, because basically he wants to prove to his son that, you know, we belong here too. But obviously, it drives him insane. And again, that's the whole thing. Like when we become obsessed with something, it just literally drives us insane.
It definitely had a little bit of an Eden Lake vibe to it, right?
Oh yeah, kind of.
You know, with the town where everybody's kind of in on it. They're all assholes, and they're, you know, at a beach setting. That was a lake, but this is a sea, but it's still kind of a beach setting. I don't know.
Brian?
Just a thought I had.
What do you think, Brian?
My turn?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm kind of on Bede's side. I really enjoyed this one. I like the slow burn aspect to it. This was a more subdued Cage Rage movie for me, because he wasn't outright just screaming and going wild. It was a slow descent into insanity. And another thing I don't think anybody really brought up, I like the retro feel to it, especially with the title card and the font and everything. Just kind of,
oh yeah, that's
puts
true.
you in
the beginning of the music and everything.
I almost wasn't sure of what time period this was set in with the retro look of it.
Yeah.
But then of course he had the modern phone. And I thought the movie did an excellent job of keeping you thinking what was real and what was not. Because like Lance brought up with the bum, I kind of was like, are you not who you say you are? Or, you know, because their stories were kind of almost lining up.
Yeah.
And I
True.
just took
Yeah.
his reason for staying there was just maybe he was a little bit stubborn with the fact that he was born there and he grew up there, that maybe he had just as every right to be there as the locals, because in his mind I'm local too, so I'm not going to leave.
They don't own the
Sure.
fucking beach. How about that?
Well,
But yeah, I actually had a great time with this, and
yeah, most people did. I think it's like 85% on Rotten Tomatoes last time I
Really?
checked.
Okay. Yeah, I think so that is a part of surfer culture. Like there are some really territorial surfers, and if you're not a local, you're not surfing that spot. And they will absolutely kick the shit out of you if they have to.
So that's a real thing. Okay.
Yeah, that's for sure a real thing. Like all over, not just Australia. But most of those are kids that have nothing. Like they've got a board and that's it.
Right.
There's 20 of them living in one house and they all surf on the same spot every day. It's not leaders of the community.
Okay. Right.
But
well, that's the twist, right?
Yeah, I guess. But I did think that they did a really good job of kind of subverting and keeping you guessing the whole time in the movie and trying to figure out what exactly was going on, because I had the same thought with the old man. And then it was like is he just crazy? Is any of this really happening? I'm not sure, you know?
Sure. Yeah, of course.
I like the way that they did that. I was maybe, I don't know what I was expecting with the ending, but maybe something a little different. And I think with a different ending, they really could have stuck the landing. With it the way that it was, it seems a little insane. So I think I'm kind of undecided. I'm sort of in the middle on this one. Like I wanted to like it more than I actually did. So there's that.
Fair enough. Yeah, I wanted to see Nicolas Cage kill them all with a surfboard.
That's what I'm saying. Okay.
And a bloody ending. But yeah,
spoilers.
We can't get everything we want.
oh, we gotta go scores first. All right. Bede, what's your score?
I no shock from me at all. I'm giving this a 9 out of 10. I really like this movie a lot.
Okay.
Maybe it's because also since it is. Yeah, I think also too because it is being that it is set in Australia. There are a lot of things really, even though it's made by Irish filmmakers, it definitely really captures the Australian feel, and which I find really fascinating. And I feel like there are definitely things either like in Australian ways of life and also what we see here in terms of the media, in terms of how it approaches some of these surfer gangs and stuff like that. It sort of really does capture that quite well. And yeah, I think the movie does a really good job as a really compelling psychological thriller, but also having this great performance from Nicolas Cage that, like, he has the oddball. He does the occasional like cage rage bit, but for most part, he really does a commendable job of really getting us into the mindset of this character, whether he's experiencing madness or not.
Yeah. Lance?
So what was your score again?
9 out of 10.
B, what was your score again? 9. Holy moly. Okay, wow. You know what? I think if you want to, put down your $10, and see Nic Cage tortured for an hour straight, then you gotta get in line for this movie.
It does get a little
but
uncomfortable.
for me, this was a 3 on 10 for me, Bede. Sorry, man. I just
How dare you?
I just thought the story was kind of all over the place for me. And the ending was just too woo-woo. So it's a 3. I'd like to say maybe on a rewatch it'll be different, but I'm not going to rewatch this one.
I might. I'll watch the shitty copy. Brian, what do you think?
What is a woo-woo ending? I'm confused on that one.
Kind of out there. It's like were they holding his head underwater and he was talking the whole time, or was that just a hallucination? Were they giving him ayahuasca? I don't know.
It's one of Nic Cage's abilities is to speak underwater.
And
But
work while
as a
he's on a
school,
lot of drugs.
this is an easy 8 on 10 for me. I thought the acting was fantastic. We haven't talked a lot about Julian McMahon. Like I said, I did not recognize him at all. I think I was right there
Yeah,
with you, Phil. How you thought you knew him, but you weren't sure what you knew him
Yeah.
from.
Like he looked
And I looked him up.
familiar, but it wasn't even
Yeah.
enough for me to go, oh, I know that guy. It was like, huh, okay, anyway. You know.
right.
I love the retro aspect of it, and Lance, I didn't think it was all over the place. I thought that was just going along with the movie. The whole fact that you didn't know what was real,
Sure.
what was not real, where the story was going, and I loved it. I think this is one of his best performances in a while. So 8 out of 10.
Okay. Very good.
Yeah. So I think if you're going to drive somebody to that level of insanity, especially Nicolas Cage, he's probably going to get violent way earlier. But we'll get into that. I'm gonna go 6 for now, and
Okay.
with the right to raise it later if I want to. I definitely want to watch it again. It's not what I expected it to be, for sure. I don't know what I was expecting, but not this.
Yeah, for sure.
It was an interesting movie.
All right.
It kept me entertained, and I was with it the whole time. And a little bit like the last movie, like I think I just wanted something different to happen at the end. I don't know what the different thing is, but something that wasn't what was shown to us.
I think that's what I enjoyed about it was I think I came in expecting his character to have a Mandy performance,
Yeah.
but I got something different out of it.
Yeah,
Like
I was hoping for that, but yeah, it is.
Listen, they're being dicks. He's being a regular human being, and he's like, I'm not gonna get in a fight with these assholes. And everything sort of seems to work. But like once they stole his surfboard,
Yeah.
that's it, dude. We're ending this. You're either gonna beat my ass or I'm gonna fucking kill you.
Right.
All right, yeah. Spoilers.
The violence should have started,
Yes.
honestly, with the guy that purposely knocked his coffee into his face.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, sure.
That's an ass
Sure.
whooping for sure.
After
That
he
wasn't
traded,
an accident. That wasn't an
after he-
accident.
after he gave his father's watch and his cell phone as collateral,
Yeah.
you walk off with your
Unbelievable.
coffee, and 10 seconds later, someone's like, "Hey," and you turn around and knock it into your face.
Yeah. There's no way you're not jumping on top of that guy.
he's just sitting there. He's just sitting there taking it. The whole time.
And then we kind of find out that guy who knocked the coffee in his face is one of the surfer gang as well, a little bit
Yeah.
later on.
Yeah. Big conspiracy, right? Everybody's in on it.
And another thing we didn't
like a cult.
Another thing I don't think none of us brought up was one of his motivations to stay there and to get that house he grew up in was also to fix his marriage.
Mm.
Yeah.
Because he was still had this mindset that he could fix his marriage, even though we find out later she's with somebody and is pregnant.
Moved on. Yeah. That wasn't going to happen.
That's what, like, I was kind of sad
Oh,
for him,
man.
man. Like the whole movie, I felt really
It was
bad
his
for
saddest-
Nicolas Cage. And it
His
was,
saddest performance since leaving Las Vegas, for sure.
And it was like, man, every single person just treated him like a piece of garbage, and he didn't do anything about it.
Exactly. And you kind of see like how not just with Nic Cage, but also that other homeless guy as well, like on how they treated
Sure.
him. So
Mhm.
again, when the film kind of plays up like, are Nic Cage and the homeless guy one and the same, or are they two completely different people? And then you find out that the homeless guy was also kind of a victim of that gang as well. And the reason why he's there is that, like, he believes they had something to do with his son's death. And
Sounds like
then
they did.
Nicholas, and also too, when you kind of find out it towards the end, like the reason why all of this has happened to Nic Cage was this kind of initiation performed by the surfer gang to drive him to see how far they can push him, because Julia McMahon sees something in Cage,
Right.
and he wants to kind of see, like, maybe if we push him, drive him a little insane, he truly is one of us. Like, if he is a local, as he claims to be, let's push him
Right.
and as like a hazing or an initiation. And if he
Yeah, like
passes it,
fraternity hazing on steroids.
exactly.
If you smack a guy in the face with a wooden sign, he's not just going to get up with a cut. Like, that guy's dead. Especially
they were like
falling into the water.
Well, maybe he pulled his punch.
I think they were like,
Right.
oh, maybe that's around the time where they're like, yeah, maybe we need to like stop this right now because someone could actually die.
All right, we've
from
taken it too
this.
far.
Like bum
Exactly.
fights.
Exactly. It literally is a bum fight when you kind of think about it.
That dude had it coming, though. I gotta say.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, kind of all of them, really, because
Oh,
yeah.
then, of course, the homeless guy goes insane and like pulls a gun out on all of them.
Sure.
And it basically lines them all up, and you kind of see how these surfer guys, their real personalities come out, because now when they're faced in a situation that actually is life or death,
Real danger.
Yeah, real danger, they like all start breaking down and crying. And it's like, yeah, well, this whole movie shows you guys aren't as tough as you think you are. Like,
Yeah.
push comes to shove,
Yeah.
you could
Typical,
probably get killed.
typical bullies, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Should have pulled that out
Exactly.
earlier.
Yes.
All right. Yeah.
Maybe
all right,
after
well,
they
there's
killed your
not really-
son and your dog.
Yes.
Like, I'm sorry, those guys would have been fucking dead. I'd be in jail, and that's it.
Sure.
Yes.
Yeah. There's not really that much to spoil, right? I mean, it's not like one of those big, twist endings or anything like that. But what was the significance of him seeing the water over him, Bede? Like when they were holding him down underwater, but he was talking, or
I think
or was he
because
tripping? Did he slip him some kind of hallucinogen, or?
Well, I think with because you do see a lot of sort of sequences where he sees himself in the water and water splashing around him. But I think it's meant to be like, because he does mention that his father killed himself, like when he was younger. So I think it's just those kind of like flashbacks to that, because he shot himself and then fell into the water. So I think it's a kind of a case like that's we find out those flashbacks are those for the action, like those are the reason why he's having those flashbacks. But at the same time, the movie is playing around with that. Like, is this like Nic Cage? Because we never see the guy's face when he's face down in the water, and he's kind of looks exactly like Cage, but then we realize no.
Yeah, I thought that too for a minute. Yeah.
Yeah, but then you realize, oh, these are just flashbacks to his dad killing himself. So,
but like, I was confused all the way up until the end. Like, even after the movie ended, I was like, wait, did I miss something? Like, was he the old man? What was going
Probably
on?
Oh no, his Nic Cage's dad wasn't the old man. No.
I think they established that by the end.
Yeah. Like, he was a completely different character who has his own vendetta against the surfer gang. Although I think essentially, I guess for him, he didn't pass the test of being initiated by them.
Yeah,
They just,
wasn't
I
it
guess
like
not.
basically?
Dog. That's okay.
Wasn't it basically confirmed that he really was who he was when he ran into that photographer for the second time?
Yeah.
She showed him the picture.
Yeah. And that's where it sort of started to click there.
That's true.
See, but even when they had the picture of him in front of the Lexus or whatever it was that he was driving, I was like, well, is he just a homeless guy standing in front of an expensive car and he's still,
I know. I thought
know?
that too. I thought that too for a
I don't
minute.
know.
Yeah,
It was weird.
because at
Like, I
that
wanted
point
to
in
go
the film,
somewhere.
I was convinced I was convinced he was the bum the whole
Yeah.
time at that point in the film. But all right. Anyway,
like-
I knew I would be the odd man out, but that's cool.
Why show the bum
It was no night swim.
throwing
right?
shit onto the water fountain? Except it was the only way that, you know, he couldn't get to the water, I guess. And then for
Well,
some
also
reason there was a
the
dog.
dog, yeah.
Whose dog was that?
I think it belonged to the
The
surfers. 'cause-
lady.
Yeah, that's, and also too, like, pretty much it's almost like we're almost basically denying water and food to Nick Cage's character because he barely eats or
Yes.
drinks
Torture.
at all.
Drinking out of a puddle, man.
Pure torture.
And also eating
be awful
burgers.
Slowly
thirsty.
stealing everything from him. Yeah.
There's water
Yeah,
in the
those
back
birds
of those
are
toilets.
look pretty appetizing. Yeah, that's true. All right, Bede, where can everybody find you that's new to the show? Because we have new listeners that don't know where you are.
Well, if people want to find me personally out there on the internet, you can follow me on Twitter, Blue Sky, and Letterboxd under Bede Jabide. You can find all my work and all the other podcasts that I co-host with Super Marcy on the Super Network over on supermarcy.com and all podcast streamers everywhere. And if people want to hear my solo show, Bede versus the Living Dead, you can listen to that on all podcast streamers everywhere as well. And also there are spin-off shows there too, so give those a listen on the Bede vs. the Living Dead podcast feed.
Yeah, Camp Crystal Lake, etc. So
Exactly.
what are you doing next? Amityville Horror? Bede versus the Amityville Horror?
Well, I thought about doing the Amityville series, but Brian kind of stole my thunder there for when he started doing it. I don't know.
Coming back.
Yes.
Sounds like there's enough movies to go around.
I mean, there's like at
I
least.
think we could each do one for a lifetime.
I mean, I think I was like on Tubi Tuesday the other day because we were trying to like look for possible ideas for movies, and then we ran into Amityville Bigfoot.
Oh God!
And I think I saw like there's Amityville Backpack, Amityville AI,
Backpack,
Amityville Toilet.
Yes. And then there's the one that
douche.
I mean, there's one that I'm fascinated by. It's called Amityville Vibrator.
I was close,
Well,
Philip.
definitely have to watch that one.
So
It's
there's like
haunted.
40
All
movies
right.
in that franchise.
Oh man, always fun to have you here, man. Nick Cage and an Australian film. We couldn't have planned that better, you know?
Exactly. It's Nick
So
Cage
it
in
worked out
both
quite well.
Boston. Nick Cage is both a Bostonian and also an Australian. G'day, mate. Where's my Red Sox? Wow.
Yeah, it's the same accent in both movies.
Exactly.
Kinda. Oh man. Well, you guys can find us at thehorrorreturns.com or email us at thehorrorreturns@gmail.com. Next week we're gonna check out the brand new Clown in a Cornfield.
Nope.
And what's the other? 1996 is The Clown at Midnight. So Bede, until the horror returns again.
Good night.